rang Brian at work and told him, and he couldn't believe it. He thought it must have been a joke because it was Friday the 13th. But it wasn't, and here we are.
It is a big ask, but we've just got to find the right person with a generous spirit to say, right, well, it's Christmas, this is what we can do.
Great.
Police believe that homemade pipe guns are being used to fire pieces of fruit, in particular green lemons, more than 500 metres at residential areas. And while no one has been injured so far, police believe that it's just a matter of time.
The capabilities of this particular weapon firing a solid object like a lemon is really catastrophic. It can kill someone at close range and do a lot of damage at a long range.
The vandals have been firing various items from their mini mortars for nearly 9 months now, and still no one has been caught. And it's residents at the junction who seem to have been paying the price.
The area has been targeted as around the junction area, the southern end of Bruce Street in particular, and we think the weapon has been fired from the Bar Beach area.
The projectiles have been landing in residential gardens too close to houses for comfort, and police say that anyone caught using such weapons faces serious fines or even jail. The reports of pipe guns comes hand in hand with warnings to residents of the area that the break-in rate is climbing. Now police have taken to mailing warnings to nearby residents, informing them of the increased risk. Adam Harper, NBN News. There's only a small budget for promoting awareness of domestic violence in Newcastle, $600 each year. So when State Member for Newcastle, Bryce Gaudry, presented a $5,000 cheque to the Domestic Violence Committee from Police Minister Paul Whelan, it was seen as time to promote action on the issue through new brochures.
It will be distributed in the community, hopefully in local courts, doctors, community services, government and non-government.
The aim of the brochure is to encourage sufferers to speak out and provide contacts who offer support. Domestic violence has become one of the main call-outs for police, but many victims choose to remain silent.
Other people might just turn their back and say that's a private matter, but I think more and more people are coming out and saying, no, that's not right.
According to police, the outspoken sufferers are only the tip of the iceberg. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Born out of what was BHP's Long Products division, One Steel hasn't exactly had an easy start to life. Its shares closed at 99 cents after its Monday debut, well down from the book value of $2.64.
We actually weren't surprised by the sort of thing that happened on Monday. I mean, there was 11% of the shares were traded. It was always expected that initially there'd be a lot of people who wanted to sell, particularly offshore investors in BHP. So I don't think that's indicative of how the company will perform going forward.
Stocks aside, it was all systems go in Newcastle this morning, with the company holding an information session for the local business community. Most of its manufacturing is done in the Hunter, using raw materials from South Australia's Whyalla Steelworks. It employs around 2,000 people here and plans to be around for a long time to come.
We've already invested or decided to invest about $10 million. By the end of this year, there'll probably be about $20 million that will have been invested in the Newcastle-based businesses. So we're determined to keep those assets in good shape and invest in additional facilities where it's warranted.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
This hotel won't be on the waterfront, but a new ibis will bring 3.5 stars to the West End, on a site currently vacant.
I think you'll see all of those buildings demolished very rapidly. That'll be a good thing in itself, and we'll see that the development is taking place in that area. So they tell me they're keen to get on with it, and I'm going to hold them to that.
The hotel will be built by Accor Development. 102 rooms with 60 parking spots should be complete by September next year, in time for the Masters Games. After debate over Accor's plans for an adjoining Formula One budget hotel, the application was changed to an ibis on its own just 2 months ago. The strong council support for the new plan and quick approval, a sign of things to come according to the Lord Mayor, as long as the developments are right for the city.
This is the start of the revitalisation of Newcastle, the start of the opportunity that is there with tourism, to build on that opportunity.
A slash of black cut across Newcastle's spectacular sunset last night, but the damage was greater on the ground at Torres, where an arsonist left a trail of destruction as he lit 4 fires on the run. He started at 2 in the afternoon, and firefighters worked through the night to contain the huge fire front as the flames leapt through the tops of trees.
7 New South Wales Fire Brigade stations, along with 10 Rural Fire Service units to contain those fires. Just the manpower alone would have cost a fortune.
If caught, the arsonist faces fines of up to $10,000 and possible imprisonment, and the likelihood of other criminal charges should someone get hurt in the blaze. But it's the futility of it all that frustrates fire services.
Should one of those firefighters or one citizen have died in the process, he would have had that on his conscience for the rest of his life. All for a prank.
Location may be the most important selling point of good real estate, but when it comes to Merewether Surf House, the investment has been less than enticing to potential developers. A conservative estimate just to get the decaying building operational is close to the $1 million mark, which explains why Newcastle's Lord Mayor John Tate is now admitting council may have to foot the renovation bill.
I think if we have an investment in it, anybody who would come along and want to invest further would then be able to, it would be within their financial reach to do so.
The Lord Mayor says council will also consider using capital works funding to restore the building with assistance from the state or federal government. It's a timely move since the building forms an integral part of the Bathers Walk, a 5-year project by council designed to showcase the city's beaches.
The Bathers Way walk will go straight past that building, so obviously it can't be left as it is.
But according to Council's tourism manager Jenny Roberts, it won't stay that way if Council's tourism strategy pays off. A fact she says will only be boosted by a recently glowing report card by the EPA on our beaches.
If Bathers Way can deliver the numbers of tourists and the investment that will help refurbish buildings like Surf House and develop cafes and other opportunities, then that's a wonderful outcome for the city.
Helen Kapelos, NBN News. Last year, Honeysuckle's historic railway sheds enticed thousands of Novocastrians when the site began hosting a monthly marketplace offering fresh produce. But from this Sunday, the meeting place will become a weekly one, and the new leaseholder, Tony Gluck, is confident it will rapidly expand.
Each Sunday it's going to be just a little bit better, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more exciting, and we're here for the long haul.
More than 90 stall holders have already signed up. Today, those at the official launch offered a sample of what's to come from local and interstate producers. Operators are hoping to eventually expand the facility to host up to 300 stalls and put a controversial past behind them, which saw previous leaseholders protest about the appointment of the new operator.
The two questions, who thought of the idea first and whose markets are they, it's quite clear. Firstly, Honeysuckle thought of the markets over 8 years ago, and they've pursued that vision relentlessly ever since. And secondly, whose markets are they? The markets belong to Newcastle, and that's why we're calling it the Newcastle Marketplace. Simple as that.
The markets open this Sunday from 8 a.m. Helen Kapelos, NBN News.
This is not just a problem for Swansea, where we started some weeks ago. We're getting people from all over the region talking to us.
They've been in the skies of the Hunter and beyond for 25 years now, flying more than 5,000 missions. And a recent special anniversary, paramedics have been on board the helicopters for 20 years, marking a successful partnership. But another partnership for the service was announced today when a new sponsor came on board, Coal and Allied.
The Westpac helicopter service seems a very sensible way to go, and we decided to lift our contribution there and become a major sponsor.
Coal and Allied donated $50,000 today, and although it takes nearly $5 million to operate each year, the rescue service says that the donation is priceless.
Just a matter of every cent helps. $50,000 in this case is a very, very healthy contribution.
And more good news is to come.
We're just negotiating another 3-year contract which will take us to 28 years, but it's the small community groups that astound me. People in the Nelson Bay area are about to present us a cheque for $100,000.
Cole and Allied's name is now firmly etched into the support network for the rescue service, with the promise to maintain their support to keep the Angels flying. Adam Harper, NBN News.
The birth of a baby is often described as a miracle, but many medical professionals also say human birth is still somewhat of a mystery. It's this mystery which claims 1,300 babies each year that researchers are trying to unravel at a 2-day conference in Newcastle.
It's presently not understood. We've got little bits, if you like, pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, but maybe we've only got about 10% of the jigsaw puzzle, and we're trying to see how the pieces fit together.
Topping the agenda is identifying changes that could be measured to indicate a woman is likely to go into preterm labour, and comparing animals with humans.
It was trying to look at how, yes, there were differences amongst different animals, but what were the common things? What were the things that all animals seem to show? And from that, perhaps we can get the best clues about what might occur in humans.
Special guest at the conference was Adrian Ryan, wife of New South Wales Police Commissioner Peter. Ms Ryan is the author of a book which details the stories of people who have lost babies preterm.
When you go through a loss like that, or any other loss, or anything that happens in your life, there's always the question of why. And the work that they're doing at this university and other universities around the world, people here today, really will be able to answer that question.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
It's difficult to decide whether the aim in sport truck racing is to win or simply survive. Either way, if you do one or the other, you're doing well. This was just the start of the final. 15 laps don't sound like much to complete, but when fellow competitors drop in on you like this, it could feel more like a lifetime. Matt Martin, though, needed no help as his machine fell apart around him.
There's less and less of the truck every time we see it.
But given the way he was driving, it was easy to see why. He did hold things together long enough to set up what was an incredible final lap with Richard Bennett. The South Australian tried everything to get past Martin, but the New South Wales driver wasn't to be denied what was a hard-fought win to say the least.
The back wheel is broken. Unbelievable scenes.
There was a collection of other four-wheeled racing, but the other feature of the night was the bikes, or more to the point, Craig Anderson. As others fell around him, Anderson stayed well in front, winning the 125, 250cc and four-stroke class.
Craig Anderson takes the Triple Crown tonight.
The 19-year-old Gilliston Heights man was driving to Newcastle from Maitland when police believed he fell asleep at the wheel. Unable to negotiate a slight bend in the road, he slammed his car straight into a power pole. The impact killed him instantly. By chance, ambulance officers were in the area at the time and on scene within 5 minutes, but were unable to revive him.
They drove upon this accident at about 3:50 a.m. this morning and discovered that the male driver was deceased.
The man's name has not yet been released by police. Meanwhile, in Warners Bay this afternoon, another armed hold-up, taking the tally in the area over the past few weeks to 4. A man believed to be in his early to mid-20s entered the Ampol service station around midday and threatened staff with a knife. Taking a small amount of cash, the robber then fled the scene, with police not far behind.
We've had a number of vehicles patrolling this area and also the dog squad and water police assisted in the search.
Police believe that this latest robbery is connected to the previous hold-ups and are searching for a man with olive skin, slight build and collar-length black curly hair. Adam Harper, NBN News.
The loss of Optus sponsorship forced the Knights to budget for a $300,000 deficit this year, but while Chairman Michael Hill admits that's now more than $350,000, he denies the club's in any trouble.
Well, you know, we'd prefer to make a profit, but this year we budgeted on a loss because of a downturn in our sponsorship.
The Knights have been left hanging since the closure of their leagues club, and they're facing a possible fine for breaching the NRL salary cap. Newcastle United boss Con Constantine was rumoured to have been approached for financial help. The Knights say they're talking to him about sponsorship and the possible sale of the leagues club, but certainly not a bailout.
No, we're not in the bailout business.
The chairman says players will be paid on Wednesday and a profit's being planned for next year, but for now...
It's business as usual. We're in a tough period of the year. Training starts back today and pretty soon we'll have people talking about the football again.
Meanwhile, Newcastle Breakers Football Proprietary Limited creditors received a report today from the administrator. They'll meet next Monday to vote on the club's fate. At this stage, it's expected to be wound up. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
For the last 8 weeks, many of the Knights have enjoyed relaxing at the beach, but today's visit was compulsory.
They've enjoyed themselves for a few weeks, but you know, it's time to sort of knuckle down and start doing a bit of work.
The last 8 weeks, all we've had to think about is our last game. It's good to be back into training and really focus on next year.
But with several former players heading to England and 4 others already there with the Kangaroos, you couldn't help but notice how young the squad looks.
An old man? Oh, not old man, but what would you say, experienced? Yeah.
While an old face dropped by for a look, it also marked the official return to the club for others like Paul Markwood and Daniel Quinn. For Julian Bailey, it's his first day as a Knight after leaving the Roosters, but the Singleton-bred back rower already feels at home.
Makes it a lot more easier, yeah. I've known a few of the boys when I was young, played a bit of football with them, and yeah, the Rudders and Simpson, they're all from Singleton.
A combination of new interchange rules and the departure of several key forwards from last season has provided many opportunities for the new recruits. Some others, though, still have to get over post-season operations before they start training.
Matty Parsons had surgery on his groin in the last week. A couple of others that we just need to take steady, and they're in a rehab program at the moment.
It's on this Kooragang Island site that Protec is hoping to rejuvenate Newcastle's steel industry. German steel giant ThyssenKrupp Stahl has agreed to provide the technical know-how for the proposed $1.5 billion plant.
They produce over 13 million tonnes of steel annually and are really at the very high end of quality. They're an excellent company to work with. We've been very pleased with our discussions throughout.
Shipping company P&O Ports has also entered into an agreement with Protec to provide transport and logistical support.
This project is more than viable, it's a reality, and we will be building this mill in Newcastle on the site as allocated by the state government.
Barring any problems with environmental impact statements, construction is due to begin in September next year.
It will be a 24 month construction period so that we are in a position to start producing product and supplying to the market by middle of 2003.
The mutilated body of Aberdeen man John Price was found by police in his home after the machinery operator failed to turn up to work on the 1st of March this year. But the gruesome details were not revisited at a committal hearing for the woman charged with his murder at Newcastle local court today in his long-time de facto, Catherine Knight. The 44-year-old has not yet entered a plea over his decapitation murder and for improperly interfering with a corpse. But her evidence was questioned by the psychiatrist who treated her at Maitland Hospital shortly after she woke from a drug overdose of antidepressants. Dr. Robert Delaforce said she was able to recall details about the tablets she had taken, but told staff she had no memory of it later that day. He said she was one of the most inconsistent and unreliable people he has ever interviewed. He also disputed a diagnosis from Mrs. Knight's treating psychiatrist, who claimed she had a type of amnesia at the time of the killing. Mrs. Knight made a brief appearance before the court today, but asked through her barrister if she could leave while evidence was being given by witnesses. A request supported by her psychiatrist, who said it could have a bad effect on her mental state. The hearing resumes in early December. Helen Kapalos, NBN News.
Night Riders. It's the only assignment the trio of O'Davis, O'Brien and Parsons can handle at the moment. The broken bone in Robbie's foot has healed, but for safety's sake, he's going to wait before he runs on it.
By doing that, they said it'll be 100% to do whatever I want in December. Play trials, everything, so I'm happy and ready to go.
And the long off-season should see him at his sidestepping best for 2001.
That's the best thing is, I can afford to have another month off my feet and, still be 100% fit before the start of the first trial.
Matt Parsons had his groin operated on a week and a half ago and hopes to be running again soon.
But us bigger blokes, we don't like to miss too much training. Obviously being a bit bigger and we've got a little bit of weight to lose before Christmas, but we'll be pretty right.
Clinton O'Brien can't run due to tendinitis in his knee, and he had his neck operated on 6 weeks ago. But that's not all he's got to worry about.
Did you get married or something else?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'll get shot. Yeah, actually, I got married about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, we had a great day back at home on the Gold Coast, and had a lovely holiday and just got back on Friday night. So, yeah, it was really good. Had a good time.
For his big frame, Bob Catlin has been a rare sight at United training sessions this season, but with priorities on the domestic front now behind him, the keeper is keen to catch up quick.
I'm not match fit. I had a run with the youth team for 90 minutes on Friday, so I've got one game under my belt.
Rushed back into the squad to play Parramatta Power on Friday night, Catlin rejoins a team that's yet to post a win.
Unfortunately, the team hasn't got the results for the first few games, but I'm sure we can turn it around. We have done the last couple of years.
But it won't be the first time Catlin has played at Marathon. The NSL veteran played here back in the early 1980s against a side that included his current teammate Daniel McBreen's father. To the side, and coach Lee Sterry named an extra player in his squad today, with one to be omitted before Friday. Brad Widgerek comes back into the team after missing last weekend's clash, but with Sterry still deciding what bench players he'll keep, Peter Junknowitz remains in the team.
Cole Mabry and Western Aluminium will see where this new path takes them.
I counted it up one time and we've been 60 times to court. Now, obviously, and it's around about 6 years, obviously that can't go on forever. So we've got to find a better way.
So, with an agreement to suspend court action and a common goal of cleaning up areas damaged by acid mine drainage, it's the beginning of a new era of cooperation.
I think this is the trend. I think you'll see more and more in the future where industry will work together with conservationists.
And it's a win-win situation, with a plan for rehabilitation work soon to be formulated and a 6-year investment of cash and in-kind support from Western Aluminium.
A lot of this is beyond the ability of Landcare to provide by itself.
For Western, it's goodwill with the community, and that's what we are continually trying to do, is build up our relationship.
But Mr Mabry says it doesn't mean he'll turn a blind eye to Western's proposal to import dross to the region.
One of the parts of the agreement is the fact that we do have inspection rights and checking on all the figures and that sort of thing. So yes, we'll be watching all that.
Brooke Webster, NBN News.
When it comes to motorbikes, 24-year-old Aaron Bowles can boast a long-time passion. And during a Newcastle District Court trial today, the Harley-Davidson rider admitted he was more worried about his bike than himself after he was run over by a car at Maryland last September. He was giving evidence at the trial of 33-year-old Bernard Fitzsimmons, charged with predatory driving after he allegedly drove his Toyota Corolla over Mr Bowles' motorcycle at McNaughton Avenue on the 22nd of September. Mr Bowles told the court he had just punched Mr Fitzsimmons after an altercation at the Racecourse Hotel at Wallsend. He then said he left the hotel and went to the nearby Caltex service station. As he was leaving, he said he noticed a vehicle without headlights on coming towards him and said, "I thought he was going to run me over," which he did. Mr. Bowles only suffered minor injuries in the fall and alleged that after he came off the bike, Mr. Fitzsimmons reversed and again ran over the back of his Harley. Mr. Bowles said it cost him up to $6,000 to repair the bike. The trial continues tomorrow. Helen Kapelos, NBN News.